Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Glenn, what was the top story?
I think the top story is this fantasy world that the press is living in with Donald Trump and Russia.
All right, Stu.
You all commuted here in automobiles, I assume, that were polluting the planet and causing tornadoes that are killing people. So thank you for that.
No, I came in Glinda the Good Witch's magic bubble.
Oh, okay. Well, then you too.
I rode my 10-speed.
All right, Sarah.
That's me. Okay. Sorry about that, Stu. Pat.
I got to say, it's still the left-wing death cult.
All right, a lot to get into there. Obviously, first we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing.
If you're looking to buy a home, you're looking to refinance, you're looking to consolidate your loans. If you're paying double-digit interest rates now on credit cards, just wait. The credit card industry, I think, is going to jack those rates so far up that it'll be crippling for most Americans. Please consolidate your loans. Please take a loan that you might have that's adjustable and put it into fix. If you're looking to buy a new home, get the right rate, a fixed rate, and do it with the people that I really trust for all of these things. It's American Financing. You can call them at the number at the bottom of the screen. It's 800-906-2440 or americanfinancing.net.
All right, Glenn.
So I actually really wanted to talk about UFOs today.
I really wanted you to talk about UFOs today.
I mean, I've got a lot to say on UFOs today. However, I saw this tweet from the president. Russia, Russia, Russia. That's all you heard at the beginning of this witch hunt hoax. And now Russia has disappeared because I had nothing to do with Russia helping me get elected. It was a crime that didn't exist. So now the Dems and their partner, the fake news media, say he fought against this phony crime that didn't exist, this horrendous false accusation. He shouldn't fight back. He should have just sat back and taken it. Could this be obstruction? No. Mueller didn't find obstruction either. Presidential harassment. Okay, how would you read that? How if you are not mentally deficient, do you read that?
He's clearly admitting to murder.
Thank you.
You could be the next host on CNN.
He's tired of being accused of things he didn't do.
Exactly right. But that's not how the mentally deficient have read this. What they've decided is this is him possibly admitting that Russia helped get him elected.
That was amazing. They said it seems like he's admitting that Russia helped him. If you read what
he clearly states he did.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Can we pull that the first tweet back up? So what they're referring to is when he says,
and now Russia has disappeared because I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected.
Right, like that's like they're trying to act as if he's admitting that Russia helped him get elected there, when obviously that's not what he's doing. And they know he's not doing that. That's one of the most ridiculous parts of this, and they do this all the time. Because they'll say, well, the president did say he had the best words, so we have to take every word that he says exactly. The man cannot speak the language at times, okay? We know this is a problem with Donald. He's got all the words in there. They're just not always in the right order. They're sometimes in 3 sentences away from where they're supposed to be. That's the way he does things. And it's like, but they all know this. You know, you see this all the time where, like, Donald Trump will have someone, Michael Cohen, and they'll be talking about Cohen. They'll go, if you remember, the president said he hires the best people. It's like, all right, yes, the president says he's the best at everything. To act as if every time he says that you're going to take it literally is insane, and they know it's insane. They didn't take it seriously when he said it initially. They weren't like, well, I guess he hires the best people, so we have to trust him. They didn't believe him when he said it initially. Now, afterwards, they're acting as if they retroactively believed it so they can get him in.
What was it that they said on the day of the election? What they said on the day of election was, what we learned was, you don't take him literally, you take him seriously. Mm-hmm. Now, conveniently, I mean, I just can't take it anymore. Let me show you. This is him on the way to the airport, to the helicopters, and they pounce on him to say, so were you admitting now that Russia... Okay, it's so stupid. Watch this.
No, Russia did not help me get elected. You know who got me elected? You know who got me elected? I got me elected. Russia didn't help me at all.
I love that.
This is,
do too.
I do too. And it's true.
Well, I mean, it's funny because it's like the typical politician thing to say there. It's not, you know who got me elected? The American people got me elected. It's just to him, it's just himself. Like he's responsible for all of it. And it's amazing how much that's been embraced. Like people love him for saying that he's completely responsible for everything good.
I mean,
Because
never
quite
responsible for
honestly,
anything
wait
bad.
a minute, hang on just a second.
Yeah.
He did not listen to advisors. He certainly was cutting his own way. He has done it his own way, a way that everybody said, that's insane. Including us. And he also spent very little money. If you want to say, yes, the American people connected to him and they were the ones that pulled the lever that got him elected. But he is the mastermind behind it.
Well,
pure and simple.
And he did also travel to states that Hillary Clinton just wrote off thinking that she had them in the bag.
Yeah.
He went to
Like,
all 57 states, I think, at one point.
James Carville got Clinton elected. It was Karl Rove that got George Bush elected. You know who he used? Him.
Well, I mean, you know, Steve Bannon would tell you that Donald Trump was way, way behind before he got control of that campaign.
Well, you could make that case.
I mean, I don't.
But that's not the press. That's not the case the press is making.
It's not. But
Right.
It's just, you know, like he was the only one who could help healthcare. He was the only one who could help. I mean,
I know.
He says that about everything, and it's just that attitude of like he's taking full responsibility for every single thing that is positive and no responsibility for anything that is negative. And people like constantly like you can't, as you pointed out, and as Selena Zito pointed out, you can't take him literally. You almost, at times, can't take him seriously. He's just a guy who, like, with
He's
his
P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, he is a showman. He says things that are positive about himself. He says things that are negative about his enemies, but only when it serves him. You know, Kim Jong-il, we were going to go bomb until like the fire and fury of the U.S. government was going to be all over him. 10 seconds later, he's his best friend. Like, none of this means anything. He's just, and it's the same thing with, it's not just Trump, it's every politician. I can give you another example, and one we all benefited from, I think. Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell in 2016, how dare you have a Supreme Court justice push through in an election year? It's insanity. Oh, this would never happen. It's crazy. We have an election a few months away. Asked just the other day, would you put a Supreme Court justice through in 2020? Yeah, of course. Not even a hesitation. Yes.
No self-awareness whatsoever.
Yeah, well,
Here's the point.
Great.
What did we say in 2014 when we said Russia is going to screw with our elections? 2014 we were on that, maybe even earlier than that. We were telling you, where is the government on this? They're telling you they're going to do this. We're showing you the video of them saying they're going to do this. Okay? Didn't take a brainiac to figure out. What was the goal of Putin? To split us apart, to get us arguing with each other, okay?
So discord.
Putin, I just did this on vacation. Put that up. I'm starting to call them 10-hour memes. Because you could do this with, you do this on, online, in about 2 seconds.
Yeah. So you're doing
it takes me about 10 hours.
You're a slow churn.
Yes. Fine art memes. And what this is, it is proven today and yesterday to be absolutely accurate. Putin wants us to be at each other's throats. He was the guy who designed this whole argument and got involved. He's the bad guy here. But he's inserted himself, Putin has, and he's doing everything but pulling the strings of people like Cuomo and everybody else on CNN. And all the Democrats were like, yes, I think Trump is bad. And yes, we've got to impeach. The only winner here is Vladimir Putin. We're giving him everything that he wants. You want to talk about collusion? Well, they know what Putin wanted. They know what he did. They have all the information, and they're still doing it. Are they in bed with Vladimir Putin and Russia to try to bring down the United States of America?
Yeah, and to add another point to that fun conspiracy theory, which I like.
I have the photo. Look at the photo.
I'm sorry,
Look at
you
the
do
photo
have
back
the
up, right there.
Sure, I forgot. the media's obsession with Donald Trump, and it's the only thing on their mind at all times, and that has helped redirect the actual focus of attention on what Mueller did to what Mueller opened and closed that press conference with. You haven't heard word one about it, which was Russia's trying to infiltrate our election system, and we found that, and that's serious. And I think there's some blame to go to the right here, who's constantly been calling the entire thing a hoax, because that means everyone on the right just dismisses it, and everyone on the left just looks at Donald Trump. Well, when the real meat of that is they actually found not only the people who were doing this in Russia, but also the processes and how they were doing it, and they all believe it's going to happen again. They all see signs of it happening already, and they all believe it's going to happen again in 2020. It's been completely ignored because everyone's either dismissing the entire project as this attack on Donald Trump, or they're actually making the entire project an attack on Donald Trump. Or
I believe there are those, a handful, but there are those who I think would want that to happen. They want more chaos. They want to hurt the American system. They want to pull it down. I'm going to transition quickly into UFOs, because
that's the obvious transition.
Yes, it is. Could you play the clip, please? Now, this is Christopher Mellon. He is the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. I want you to listen to what he just said.
We know that UFOs exist. This is not no longer an issue. The Navy itself has publicly acknowledged the fact that they exist, and Navy pilots, active duty pilots, have gone on the record in the New York Times acknowledging the fact that they exist. So the issue now is, why are they here? Where are they coming from? And what is the technology behind these devices that we're observing?
We know that UFO exists. We're up on that. I mean, was that did I miss something on vacation where we're all like, oh, by the way, yeah, aliens with suction cup thingies, they're up in the sky. They've been there for a while. Don't worry about it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold it. So he says, we know the UFOs exist. That's no longer the issue. Now, we could say that what he's talking about is, unidentified flying objects. We're not talking about extraterrestrial.
They're from Earth.
The issue is why are they here? Where are they coming from? And what's the technology behind these devices that we're observing? Now, to show you, the government is releasing unbelievable, Pat, I knew you grew up the same time I did. UFOs, conspiracy central, okay? Now you have people, it's on video, you have pilots who, one pilot got really testy, I think it was in the New York Times article that I read. He was like, I'm a pilot, I'm a government pilot. I don't make up
myths.
Myths.
Yeah.
I don't live in that world. And so something's going on. I hope it's not China and Russia. I'm kind of rooting for the aliens, unless it explains what's happening right now on Earth. We're being told we know that UFOs, it looks like it's alien technology. Does that explain the roster of the Democratic primary? Could those be the aliens?
It's the only thing that explains it.
If that's not, could the aliens come down? Could we just ask them? Aliens, suction cup people, if you're listening to me right now, please, whatever you do, don't capture all of our politicians and hold them as hostage. Don't do it. We'd hate that.
All right, back in a minute.
We know they can't capture politicians. They've got the prime directive to worry about. They can't interfere.
That's right.
Before we get back into the conversation, I want to thank our sponsor, Cruise Through History. I cannot believe all of the amazing places that you guys are going to go to on this cruise.
It's going to be great. We're going to Venice. We're going to Athens. We're going to Jerusalem. We're going to Croatia. And we've got David Barton, Rabbi Lappin, Stu will be there, I will be there, Bill O'Reilly will be there on this cruise.
So much history there.
And we're just talking about the history of what it means to be a democracy and a republic, what it means for the Enlightenment, what does our religion, what role does that play in? And it's completely all-inclusive. I mean, the hotels, the airfare, the food, everything is all-inclusive. It's happening next spring. You can find out all about it at comesailaway.com, but it's going to be a real adventure, and you're going to be with 3,000 like-minded people. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. ComeSailAway.com.
Stu, I just want to clarify. You said that me driving my car is the reason for the tornadoes.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. You should have maybe been a little less selfish. Something to throw out there. Yeah, that's what you're hearing in the media right now. And this is something, it's never let a crisis go to waste, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where every time there's a weather situation where people are in serious damage, like they will come out and make it about global warming. We all know that happens. Can we have the first quote here? Can we start here? This is this is from an article titled "Poisoned Weather: Global Warming Helped Fuel Killer Tornadoes."
From Think Progress.
From Think Progress. Carbon pollution from fossil fuels is poisoning the weather, helping drive the conditions that created the killer tornado outbreak last week across the heart of the United States. It's irresponsible, not to mention climate change. Climatologist Kevin Trenbreth of the National Center for Atmospheric Research told Think Progress Green. And this is just one sample. You've seen this all over the place. This is the next chart I want to go to, by the way. And it is a situation where we actually have had a pretty active tornado season, more active than, not unprecedented, but active. Here's the chart. You kind of see the top and bottom lines. That's the maximum and minimum. You've seen the most active and the least active. The middle are kind of showing you the average and normally active, and it's above the 75th percentile. You see it's 855 tornadoes so far this year. So it's trending high, though not at unprecedented levels.
May I just ask, what is U.S. inflation adjusted annual tornado? Is somebody inflating tornadoes?
Well, there's an overcount situation. If you could actually see it at the bottom. It says preliminary tornadoes from local storm reports multiply by 0.085 to remove overcount. You get overcounts of tornadoes all the time, and this is one of the things that's actually difficult when it comes to looking at this in a long-term basis. Is small tornadoes just weren't detected back in the day. Mm-hmm. Small tornado go through a field in Oklahoma and no one would ever know it happened. Mm-hmm. So that's why when scientists look at these things and look for long-term trends, they always look at F3 and above, because it's pretty much impossible to miss an F3 tornado. Everyone pretty much sees those. The smaller ones at times, people will actually miss. Even today, sometimes it's difficult, but they usually catch them today. They didn't catch them back then. A lot of people online will show you tornado charts and show you long-term trends of F1 and above, because what they love, or F0 and above, because what they love about that is it looks like there's an increase because we are, of course, detecting them now. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the F3, the chart of F3. This goes back to the 1950s, okay? Look at this chart right here. There is a significant decrease in the number of tornadoes that have been...
The trend.
The trend is a downward trend, if you happen to be listening to the podcast. And here's the summary of it.
Over 20%.
Yeah, significant. So from 1954 to 1985, there was an average of 56 tornadoes per year. From 1986 to 2018, there was an average of 33. So you're talking about, a 40% drop there in average amount of tornadoes between those periods. Now, in this period, of course, global emissions were skyrocketing. We have more carbon in the atmosphere than we've ever had in 7 zillion years, if you listen to that, everybody. The interesting part about this is the last year, which is 2018, last year, was the lowest in history. The lowest in recorded history was last year. Of course, this was also coincides with the highest amount of emissions in history. And what's interesting about, we kind of showed you this scary quote earlier from this article, Poisoned Weather. Well, look at the date on it. I didn't give you this initially, but it's 2012. This is a different outbreak of tornadoes that they were blaming on global warming. And then we had about 5 or 6 of the lowest years in history. It is, look, they try to get people on board with global warming by exaggerating claims, and every single time they can take advantage of a few dead bodies in the Midwest to try to make their points, they do it. And it's an embarrassment. The guy who the climatologist quoted in there was from the same organization these charts are coming from. They know what these long-term trends are. They know their long-term trends are down. We have lower trends in tornadoes. We have lower trends in droughts. We have lower trends in hurricanes. All these things are moving in the right direction, but if you know that, you won't give them multiple trillions of dollars to solve these problems. And that's, it's something that the American people need to know, and you never see these charts actually on television.
And just think about how much the left wants to transform the United States because of what they say is a global warming crisis, right? Yeah. I mean, we've got the Green New Deal. being discussed that's just going to radically, it would radically transform America. And
it's fascinating.
Or what?
I was doing the, we're going to have an update to our Democratic candidate power rankings next week, and so I've been working on that a little bit this week. And I was going through some of these lower candidates on the list. And John Delaney is this guy who's been running forever. He's running as a moderate. Like he's saying, I'm a moderate. We're gone too far towards socialism. This isn't going to work. And he just introduced a $4 trillion global warming package. It's like the moderates are saying $4 trillion for this? They want control so badly, and this is the easiest.
Dude, we can't afford not to do it. We can't afford not to.
We can't afford to spend.
They should just decloak their spaceships.
Yeah.
And come out and say, look, we have this technology. You got to vote for me.
If you want to move around with no emissions at 9 million
right.
miles an hour and stopping with no delay, then just like me.
And what happened to don't confuse weather with climate? I mean, that's completely out the window now. Every single weather event
Unless
that
it's
happens,
cold.
unless it's cold, and even that sometimes they turn into warming.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we never heard the phrase polar vortex before. The last couple of years, it was a Canadian cold front or an Arctic cold front. Now it's a polar vortex.
That's scarier, though.
Yeah, it is.
That's a good piece of messaging. It's like when they changed to Chilean sea bass from what was it, Patagonian toothfish?
Patagonian toothfish.
That blew my mind.
Yeah,
I had no idea that that happened.
Because you're not going to go to a restaurant and order a Patagonian toothfish.
Never.
No.
But you will order Chilean sea bass.
And it's delicious.
And is it your anti-Semitism that won't order a Jewfish? Is that what it is?
No, toothfish.
No, there is Jewfish out there, too,
okay.
that had to change its name because
true.
of the anti-Semitic people that would not order a Jewfish.
I
No.
remember this. This is back in the early 2000s.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, they had to.
Yep.
Of course. All right, back in a minute.
I mean, you don't want to be called a toothfish.
No, you don't.
Because you just feel like eating teeth is.
Pat, let's talk about your top story, and then we can kind of get into a further discussion in overtime.
Yeah, we'll set it up with Allison Camarada. She was talking to the Attorney General of Indiana about their new law, and it went to the Supreme Court, and I think she explains it a little bit, but here's what she had to say.
So it sounds like you got this mixed decision. And what I want to focus in on is the first part that we just described, where Indiana had tried to block women from getting abortions if it were based on a disability. And I'm just curious about that one. Why would you want a family to have a child with a severe disability?
Wow.
Well, the issue that the General Assembly faced was not with regard to the question you posed. It's the question of the rights and consideration of the unborn child in terms of discriminatory actions of eliminating that opportunity at life. Making a decision based solely on race or disability certainly is a discriminatory practice, and no decision in terms of whether or not to have a child should be based on that solely. And that's what the General Assembly chose to do, and it's banned.
But that confuses me because, as you know, there are lots of terminations of pregnancies based on the fact that there are severe abnormalities of a fetus. And so why would you take away that choice from a family?
Perplexed.
She's perplexed.
Well, it's not a matter of taking away that choice.
You won't believe this. Okay, so all of my art is based off of old propaganda art, okay?
Oh, this is eugenics stuff.
While I was on vacation, I looked up the abortion stuff, and here is from Germany. This is Nazi Germany, and you'll see that one doesn't have limbs, one is mentally handicapped. I don't know if this one just has problems or what, but in German it says, who would want to be responsible for this?
Wow, I mean, that's almost her question.
It is. Why would
you do
wants
that?
a cripple for a
Why
child?
would you do this? Who would want this? That is
it's
what's
unbelievable.
happening.
I mean, imagine being the parent of a child with Down syndrome. They're basically being told that their children should not exist.
Exactly. Yes, like there's no value to their lives if they're not absolutely born perfect. Wow, that is. You know, I know people hate it when we bring up the Nazis, but I'm sorry. That is right there.
Right there.
Right there.
Right there.
Quite an admission. Quite an admission there.
All right, a lot more to get into in overtime. If you're not yet a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Go to blazetv.com right now. Overtime starts next.
Hitler wouldn't want you to subscribe.
I'm going to send this to you for the show tomorrow.